Hey everyone, welcome back to Raising the Nuts. I am down here in Atlantic City at the Golden Nugget to play a session. It's Wednesday. Decided I would hop in the car, about an hour drive down to Atlantic City, and put in a session for the vlog. I'm not sure if I'm going to play every hand. I know that Wednesdays is a big day here at the Golden Nugget. If you guys saw, as I was driving down here, I was listening to DGAF's Sessions podcast. I have recently become a patron, if you guys are not familiar, as he would call it, a patron. Check the link below if you guys listen to the podcast, support his project. I think you guys will really enjoy the podcast as it has a lot of similarities to what I do here on the channel with family, life, and things like that. So give it a listen, support his project. He does a great job on it. All right, let's get into the action, see what happens from here. All right, so I just finished my session up here up at the Golden Nugget. I played 1-3 no limit, and I did the play every hand challenge. So if you're not familiar with the play every hand challenge, I have to play every hand dealt in unless there is a 3-bet or an all-in before it gets to me. I am allowed to limp in and then fold, so you'll see some of that here in the clips. But I actually think I got footage of every single hand that I played, and so I'm gonna go voiceover style for this entire session and go through every single hand. I think you guys will quite enjoy it. It actually is pretty funny that I mentioned the DGAF podcast because this felt like a DGAF session. I won a lot of small pots and didn't run too good in the big one. So let's get right into it. This is the 9th time doing the Play Every Hand Challenge. There's actually a playlist here you can check out to see some of the other videos. I think a few of them have been taken down though. Currently up $825. The goal is to win $2,000, which I will donate to charity. Just to set the stage here, it's Wednesday morning at 11:30. As you can imagine, the clientele is a little bit older. This game you can buy in for $1,000 on this 1-3 game, so that's what I buy in for. And I'm going to go through every single hand I played in the session, every single hand I was dealt into, 92 hands in all. Obviously not going to go through intense analysis for all of them, and I probably won't have graphics for all of them either, but hopefully you guys will be able to follow along. And I think you guys will find it really entertaining to see what I'm able to get away with playing 100% of hands. First hand, as I'm still getting settled in, I limp in with 8-7 offsuit under the gun. 5 ways, we check down ace-3, 3-2, river's an 8, so I make a pair, and big blind leads for $3. I make the call. He declares that he has a pair. I show my hand, and it's good. Still haven't had time to optimally set up my camera to get the whole cards. Call a raise to $20 with pocket 3s from the big blind. We go 3-way to a king-king-4 2-heart flop. Checks to the pre-flop raiser who puts out a bet of $35, and I just decide to fold, mostly because I just want to move on to the next hand and get my camera set up in the right way. Okay, there we go, that's a little bit better. Have jack 7 of diamonds in the small blind, complete 5 ways, queen 8-5 flop, check fold. Fourth hand of the day would set the tone for how the rest of the session would go. I have king-queen offsuit. There's a couple limps. Player on my right makes it $12. I put in a 3-bet to $35, and he and the others fold. Kind of sets the tone for the table. I don't want the player on my right opening at all, if possible, and I've already noticed the players on my left telegraphing their actions, so this is going to be very beneficial for me playing every hand, knowing what I want to do pre-flop, whether I want to raise or limp. All right, then we get our first big pot of the day. Couple limps. I make it $20 on the button with the premium ace-queen offsuit. We end up with 3 callers, so we're taking this flop 4 ways. Flop comes very nice. Queen 8-5, 2 clubs, a little bit of a wet texture. Obviously going to size up a little bit here when it checks to me. So I bet $50 and I get 2 callers. The turn is the 5 of clubs, so not the most ideal turn card that I could imagine. And the player in the big blind decides to lead for $50. The player in between us folds and is back to me. Not loving the situation, but getting such a great price. And just being able to navigate in position, I think I'm going to call here. And, I could still be ahead. He could have a hand like ace-queen with ace of clubs where we're chopping, or king-queen with the king of clubs, or just king-queen, who knows. So I do make the call. River's an offsuit 9. He checks. I'm just going to check back and hopefully win against one of those hands. Unfortunately, he does have 5-6 of spades for trips, and we lose that pot. Got to shake that one off. Right back in the action here. Call a raise to $11 from early position with 7-5 offsuit in the cutoff. We go 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes down 9-6-4 with 2 diamonds. When they check to me, I'm going to bet $15. With the way that these types of people play, it's very unlikely they ever have a hand here when they check to us. Obviously, we flop good with open ender. The pre-flop raiser calls, and now we're just going to be barreling off completely against this guy. Don't think he'll ever be able to call us down with anything. So on the jack turn, I go ahead and continue to fire, bet $30, and he quickly folds. Next hand, open queen 10 offsuit in the hijack to $10. We get 4 callers and get led into on the 6-3-2 2-heart flop by the small blind and just fold. He ends up having 4-5. So he flops the nuts and he ends up losing to the player to my left who had pocket 10s and runs out of 4 flush. So this table is definitely going to be a great table for playing every hand because I'm pretty much the only one that's going to be raising pre-flop. The way to navigate with some of these really trashy hands that I do, and I have this trashy 6-deuce off in early position, is just to limp in, minimize losses. And the great thing is I'm going to get to realize my equity most of the time because no one's going to raise pre-flop and we're going to take it 4 or 5 ways and I'll be able to navigate post-flop and make the best decisions. So we ended up taking this one 5 ways. Flop comes down 6-5-2, so flop top and bottom. 2 diamonds on the flop. I bet $15. Only the big blind makes the call. Turn card's not ideal as an offsuit 5, so counterfeits my 2 pair. When he checks, I decide to just check back. I think you can bet here for value sometimes to protect against some draws, but I ultimately decided to check back. River is a 3 of diamonds, so a lot of stuff gets there again. Check, check, and we lose to 10-6, which counterfeited us. Limp it again, this time with King 9 offsuit. Again, 5 ways, and again I flop 2 pair, this time top 2 on King 9-4 with 2 diamonds. Checks me, I bet $15 and get 2 callers. The turn's an offsuit 8. I'm going to keep betting, charge those draws, bet $50, and they both fold. I limp under the gun with 9-4 offsuit, another 5-way limper, and I just check fold to a bet and a call on King 10-4. So 10 hands in so far, won 4 of them, but probably down about $80 because of that big loss. About to go on a heater of winning a lot of hands. We're going to go through these real quickly. There's a bunch of limpers, and when it gets to me in the big blind with Queen 10 of hearts, I make it $20 and they all fold. A couple more limps here again, and the button makes it $13. Same player I 3-bet before, going to continue to develop this dynamic with him, and 3-bet King 10 offsuit to $50, and everyone folds again. Yet another 5-way limp pot. If you haven't been able to tell already, people love to limp at these stakes. I limp in there with 10-8 off on the button. Flop comes 7-6-3 rainbow. They check to me. I bet $15 and they all fold. There's a very short stack to my left, which is why I'm limping a lot of hands early here. So I limp behind here with the 10 deuce off, and that short stack does decide to jam his stack in there. And I have my first pre-flop fold of the day. Because I did put the money in, like I said, I'm allowed to fold at this point now. Again, limping behind limpers here with the ace-5 off. Once the short stack on my left busts, I will begin raising these hands for sure. But just going to be okay limping here and have yet another 6-way flop. Flop bottom pair on King 10-5, checks around, turns a 7, and there's a bet and 2 calls. And I'm folding. It ends up being showdown on the river where it's King 2 versus a set of 7s that doesn't bet the river. Yet another 6-way limper. I'm in there with Jack 4 spades. Flop trips on Jack 7. You might be noticing a theme at this point. I bet and everyone folds. Second pre-flop fold of the day here after I limp in with Queen 3 offsuit and a tight, older Caucasian gentleman aged 70 to 90, shout out Boski, makes a big raise, and I fold and he shows pocket kings. We got to straddle this hand. The guy to my right limps in as well, so I'm going to keep pounding on him. I make it $20 with Queen 8 of diamonds. He's the only caller. Flop comes King 9-5, 1 diamond. He checks, I bet 20. He folds yet again because we are not in Texas anymore. We are in Atlantic City where people clearly enjoy folding. Limp fest continues. I limp ace deuce off. We go 5 ways to ace 5-3 rainbow. I bet $15. Just the guy on my right calls. Turns a deuce. Goes check, check. River's an offsuit 9. He checks again. I go for some value, bet $25. He's had enough at this point. He finally makes a call and I show him the goods and he mucks. Get ace deuce offsuit again next hand. Limp under the gun. Another 5-way limper. Flop ace 6-4. Check to me, I bet $10, and I get calls from the button and the player to my right who's in the big blind. Turns an offsuit 9, check to me again, I bet $30, and they both fold. 20 hands into the session, and I've won 11 of them. I lost the biggest one though, so I'm about even. Somehow no one limps this hand, and it folds to us in the blind, so I chop with King 7 offsuit. There's a couple of limpers. The player on my right raises the button to $13. I decided to just call him this time with pocket 5s. We go 3 ways to ace queen 4. Checks to him, he puts out a bet, and I decide to fold, mostly just because I gotta let this guy win a pot. I can't win them all from him. Next hand, we have a few more limpers. I make it $25 with King 6 offsuit, and they all fold again. Maybe they're starting to catch on, because this time no one limps. I just make it $15 with King 7 offsuit in the cutoff, one better, but everyone still folds. Oh hey, look at this real hand, pocket jacks. We got 1 limper, I make it $20. This time we get 3 calls, so we got some action at least. Flop comes down 10-5-4 with 2 spades, so we still have the overpair. I put out a bet of $25, and if anybody calls, we're probably going to have to proceed cautiously given how tight everyone has played so far. But they do all fold, and we win another one uncontested. If you're following along, you'll see that my strategy has been to raise in late position a lot and then limp behind with some of these trashier hands. That's what I do in this 9-4 offsuit hand. And as you'd expect, it goes 6 ways to the flop, and I just check fold on an ace-queen 2-6 board. This next one, I'm not sure why I didn't raise this one pre. Maybe I saw the guy to my left thinking he was going to shove or something. I just limp with 9-8 of clubs. We go 5 ways. Flop is ace, king, queen, 2 clubs, so I flop the 9 high flush draw. They check to me, I bet $15, and they all fold again. Another boring, no fun one here. I limp jack 5 offsuit, and small blind puts in a big raise. I just limp fold this one. Same thing with the next hand. Have 9-4 clubs, limp in, and someone in late position raises, and I just fold it again. I don't think these guys are picking up on that there's limp folding at the table. I think they're just picking up hands in these spots for sure. Here's one of the bad things about these types of tables. I had jacks already made a little bit. Now I have queens. There's a limp. I raise from the big blind to 20, and everyone folds, as they've been doing when I have nothing. So that's the frustrating part when you actually do have a good hand. This next one is a really annoying hand. It folds to the cutoff, who raises to $13. The button makes the call, and normally I would actually just squeeze this hand given the dynamics, but I look to my left and I see the big blind getting ready to shove his stack in, which is really sad for me because I have to call here. I have to put money in the pot based on the way this challenge works. He goes ahead and shoves for $36. The original raiser makes it $136. We all get out of the way. The big blind has pocket queens. The cutoff has pocket 4s and actually spikes a 4. So we get rid of that short stack to our left, which is a good thing. I've had jacks. I've had queens. Now I have kings. If this were the type of game where people were trying to fight back and win pots, this would be the ideal scenario. Create an aggressive image and then show up with some good hands. Unfortunately, this is not that type of game. There's some limps. I make it $20. I get 3 callers, including the player on my right. Flop comes down 9-6-4 rainbow. They check to me. I bet $30, and no one hit anything, so they all fold, as you'd expect, because they didn't hit anything. This next one I remember really well. I limp behind on the button with queen 8 offsuit, a hand that I would normally raise for sure in this spot because I see the big blind reaching for a lot of chips. He ends up making a huge raise. I think it was $50 or $60. I obviously fold, and he shows pocket aces. I raise the next one in the cutoff to $15 with 7-5 of spades. The big blind defends. Flop is queen 8-3 rainbow, so we flop the world. She checks. I bet $15. She's very unhappy about this situation and the flop, and she disgustedly throws her cards in. No limpers this time. I make it $10 with ace-2 offsuit. The big blind calls. Flop comes ace-9-4 with 2 clubs. He checks. I bet $15 and another fold again. We're now 35 hands into this session, and I've won 20 of them. I'm going to bang out the next 4 real quick because nothing happens in them. I limp king deuce offsuit 4 ways, fold to a bet on 8-7-6. I limp king deuce suited 4 ways, fold to a bet on jack 8-6. I limp 6 deuce off under the gun and fold to a big raise from the small blind. And then in the big blind, check king 8 offsuit, and we check fold on the turn on ace queen 6-4. I missed my cards in the next hand for God knows what reason. I think I was trying to get B-roll footage like this, right? For some reason, I don't know why. But I called a raise from the small blind with 7-4 offsuit versus a button open. I definitely should be 3-betting this hand. Not sure why I didn't in the game. Flop came jack 9-7. We were 3 ways, and I just check folded to a bet, and then this big pot developed. We never got to see what they had, but I think the guy on the button actually had a pretty strong hand. Next hand, you get to see my prowess as a vlogger, as I forgot to take off the zoom. We're done with the losing ways here. My man under the gun's ready to gamble and puts out a dead 10. As you see there, there's a couple of limps. I make it $40 with 10-5 offsuit. He calls and one of the limper calls. So we have a big pot developing. We got 10-5 offsuit. Let's go. Got to get the camera settled back in place. Show that 10-5 offsuit again. We flop 10-9-4, 2 diamonds, top pair. I'll take it. They check to me. I bet $40. The dead 10 folds, and then the other limper calls. The turn is another 10. So I make trips. I think it's pretty likely that he just has a draw here, so I'm going to just bet small. I think he's going to fold a lot of time. I bet $65, and he pretty quickly folds. Back to a bunch of limpers again. I raise to $25 with king 5 offsuit in the cutoff. Only the gentleman to my right makes the call. Flop comes queen 6-5 rainbow. He checks. I bet $20, and I'll give it a second here. I'll pause the video. You guys guess what he does at home. That's right. He folds again, and we win another one. Not sure why I decided not to raise this one, but it's another 5-way limper with king 6 off, and I just fold to a bet on jack 9-7. Limp in there again with 9 deuce off, 5 ways. Flop trips on jack 9-9. I bet $10 when they check to me. Only the player on my right makes the call. The turn's a king, so queen 10 does get there. I'm not really scared of that though. Obviously going to keep betting, so I bet $20, and he lays it down yet again. Limp in there with queen 6 offsuit, face a big raise, I think a $30 raise from the hijack, and just make the fold. Gonna roast myself here on this next one. There's a limp under the gun from the player on my right. I make it $15 with king 9 of hearts. Small blind, big blind, and limper all call. Flop comes Jack 8-7, 2 hearts. Great flop. Got the gut shot, got the overcard, got the flush draw, everything you could ask for. Not to mention everyone has folded to every single continuation bet I make pretty much. Clear bet when it checks to me, except for I picked up something on the small line where I thought he was very interested in the flop, and this player in the small line was pretty competent. I ended up deciding to check back here, given that read, which he's the only player at the table that I'm $1,000 deep with, so I should easily just bet here. Whatever, I check. The turn card's an offsuit 7, and they check to me again. I can't help myself. I need to bet this time. I bet $30, and then that player in the small blind wakes up with a raise to $75. I'm disgusted with myself. I hate the way this situation has played out. Obviously, I can just call here, but given the way that this table had played and the way this player had played, I thought it was pretty likely that I could just be drawing dead here, and I just wanted to be done with this hand and over with it because I was so annoyed by it. So I just folded. You guys can roast me as much as you want in the comment section below. Let me know what you think I should have done on this flop turn. Should I have called the turn check raise? Just lay it on me. At the halfway point of the session, hope you guys are still with me and you're hanging out for the rest of it. I have queen 3 offsuit. I limp in there and then check fold to a bet on ace 8-5. I check 5-4 offsuit in the big blind with the classic 5-way limp pot, and check fold to a bet on ace 8-3-9. Next one's a fun one. 5-way limper as usual. I have ace 3 offsuit in the small blind and complete. Flop is ace queen 6 with 2 spades, and we check to a player who limped early position. He bets $10. Folds back to me. I honestly just wanted to fold here because people played so passively that it just felt like there was zero chance that I had the best hand. Anyway, I decided to call. The turn is the 9 of spades, completing the flush. I'm not going to put another dollar in the pot. Goes check, check. River's the king of spades, so there's 4 spades on the board now. I check. My opponent checks back. He has ace queen with the queen of spades. That is the nuts. The beautiful thing about playing every hand is that you never have to kick yourself for not playing a hand where you flop a full house. I'm in there with 6 deuce offsuit for a raise to $12 from the player to my right. A player had limped in, so we take this flop 3 ways. The flop comes 6 deuce deuce. That's a full house. And even better news, the player who had limped in leads out for $20. The player to my right makes the fold. I make the call. We take the turn heads up. Turn cards, the 7 of diamonds, bringing backdoor diamonds. My opponent continues betting. He bets $30. He's got about $100 behind. I decided to just call again. My opponent then checks in the dark. The river comes the 9 of diamonds, which completes the backdoor flush. It's time to cash in on this image we created. We got a full house. We're thinking about the $100 we're going to get from him, plus all the money in the pot, so I jam it in there. He takes a look back at his hand, slides his chips in, which will be coming over to me. I reveal the 6 deuce. He turns over pocket 9s for the rivered full house. Wah, wah, wah. Obviously can't do anything about that hand, just have to move on to the next one. Fortunately, I get a premium 10-9 of clubs. The player to my right raises the $15, which is larger than his normal raise. I decided to just call. 3 more calls. We go 5 ways to a flop. Comes 9-8-4, 2 spades and a club. Checks to the pre-flop raiser who bets $50. This is obviously pretty concerning and a really tough spot. Not even tough, it just sucks. He's definitely got an overpair. We have a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw, and top pair, but we do have players left to act behind us. I decide to call. The turn card is the king. He bets $65. I'm done with this hand. I just fold and move on. Got to try to stop the bleeding here after the last 2 hands. I raise the $10 with 8-7 offsuit. Folds to the big blind. He shows me an ace and folds, so we just win the pot pre-flop. I missed a hand on camera here, but I had 4-3 offsuit and limp behind and then folded to a big raise. And then another boring one. For some reason, I didn't raise this king 5 suited. We went 6 ways to the flop, and I just check folded on the turn on queen 7-2 queen, and the player showed pocket 2s. Next hand, 8-7 offsuit again. I feel like I've had that like 5 times. That and deuce 6. I limp in. We go 7 ways to the flop. Comes 10-9-7. So I flop bottom pair. Checks to player in late position who bets $10. I make the call. We go heads up to the turn. Turns the jack, so we make the straight. I check. He bets $20 this time. I decided to just call. I don't think there's any reason to raise against this particular type of player. River's a 9. Pairs the board. I check. He checks. And we beat jack 10 of hearts. Couple more yawners to get through. I check queen 6 offsuit in a 6-way limp fest. Check fold to a bet on 10-8-4. I limp the 7 deuce offsuit 6 ways. Check fold to a bet and a raise on king jack 9 all clubs. Got another trashy hand, the 5 deuce offsuit, another 5-way limper, and just check fold on a king 8 6-6 queen board. All right, enough with these trashy hands. I got pocket kings. I raised it $20 after a couple of limps. They all fold, and the gentleman tells me he folds ace king and will fold ace king to $20 every single time. Given that type of information that people are giving out, I would obviously always raise this queen 8 offsuit, but again, I see the gentleman in the big blind interested in going to raise, and he does raise again, so I just limp fold. Then I raise ace 6 offsuit to 25. After a bunch of limps, everyone folds again. Gonna keep steaming through these boring ones so we can get to the fun ones. Limp behind king 5 offsuit, flop nothing, fold. Limp 6 deuce off, 6 deuce off again. What's going on with this crap? Limp fold that one. Raise pocket 2s to $10, go 3 ways to the flop. Comes queen 10, 4 with 2 clubs. I check. There's a bet and a call, so I just fold. And then I limp 9-7 of clubs under the gun. And there's a big raise from the player to my left, and I just decide to fold this one. Then we chop king 10 offsuit in the blinds. Ace jack offsuit, there's a bunch of limpers. Raise that one to $25, and everyone folds. Limp behind 10-4 suited on the button. Flop nothing, and fold. Now this one is an interesting one. The under the gun player raises to 12. He was the same player who got me when he had 9, so I'm thinking I'm going to get revenge with the 9s here. I decided to just call on the cutoff. Flop comes ace, ace 2 with 2 hearts. He checks. I just decide to check back. The turn is a 4. He bets $15, and I just fold right away. I don't think he's ever bluffing. I don't think he ever has a worse value hand, and he ends up showing ace queen of clubs. 5-way limper with 4-3 offsuit and just check fold 9-9-5. I'm around even at this point. I know that I don't have too much time left, so I think I'm deciding to get a little spicy here. There's a limp. I make it $20 with 6-3 offsuit, and then that limper punishes me by limp raising to 50 with 100 behind. I obviously just fold. Again, trying to get in there and win some pots. I raised to $15 after a limp with queen 4 of clubs. Only the player on my left calls. He's also very short stacked. Flop comes ace jack 4 all spades. I decided to bet 15. He just snap jams for 70. I snap fold, give him the money. He shows ace jack. Another string of trash hands here. Limp 9-3 off, 6 players. Fold to a bet on ace queen jack 4. Then I limp 4 deuce off, 4 ways. I bet $10 on 10-5-4 because pretty much their cards are already in the muck. They all fold. I win that one. I didn't get this next hand, but I limp queen 7 offsuit and fold to a bet on king king 4. And then check 9 deuce offsuit in the big blind and fold to a bet on queen 7-8. All right, let me give you guys a few seconds to catch up here, take some deep breaths, relax a little bit. That was a lot of hands in a row. Okay, ace 10 suited, bunch of limpers, I raise, everyone folds as usual. We're coming down the home stretch here, time to manufacture a win. The same player to my right opens to $12. I put in the 3-bet on the button to 35 with the 7 deuce offsuit. Flop comes 9-9-8 after he calls the pre-flop raise. I bet $30. His cards hit the muck once again. We got 9-3 offsuit this time. Same guy opens to 12 again. I decided to just call this time instead of putting in 3-bet. Probably should just 3-bet again. Anyway, we see the flop heads up. Flop is jack 6-3 rainbow, and when he checks, I decide to put out a bet of $10 for value and protection. He makes a pretty quick call. Turns a king. Not the best card, I don't think. I think he's going to have some king queen, some ace king type hands, so we just go check check. River though is a 9. I make 2 pair. When he checks, I bet $60, figuring he either has a king or he has some kind of middle pocket pair or ace high, and he's probably not going to call anyway. So I decided to just go with the large sizing, and he makes a pretty quick fold. Oh baby, they were doing a splash pot promotion here, and our table got the splash pot this time, so $75 added to the pot. The guy to my right got to choose whether it was $75 in one hand or $25 in 3 hands. He picked $75 in one hand, so we're going to fight for this one, obviously. There's a couple of limps, and he makes it $25. I have king deuce suited. I think I should actually just be 3-betting this against him here for sure, trying to get it heads up because we're like $500 deep. But I thought it was likely he had a pretty strong hand. I just didn't want to get blown off my hand pre-flop with all that money in there. And king deuce suited plays well enough multi-way, I think. So I believe we end up taking this flop 6 or 7 ways. The flop comes 6-4-2 all clubs. One of the early position limpers jams for $117. The player to my right makes the call, so we just have to fold. It ends up being 4 deuce offsuit for the early position player versus pocket 7s with a club. And the pocket 7s with a club ends up rivering another pair to counterfeit the 2 pair for that guy to win that pot. Then I raised the queen 8 offsuit to $15 after 1 limp. And if you've been watching the video this long, you can guess what happens. Then we have a stretch of a bunch of hands here where I hit nothing. Limp 9 deuce of clubs, 7 ways, fold on ace 8-5. Limp jack 8 offsuit, 5 ways, fold on 7-5-2. Limp 7-3 offsuit, fold on 10-4-2. In the big blind with 5-4 suited, it actually looks a little pretty, but flop comes queen 9-8, so we lose that one. And then complete 5 deuce off from the small blind and fold on 7-4-4. Then I raise the 15 on the button with pocket 4s. After a couple limpers, we go 3 ways to a flop. Time to flop a set. Let's go. Queen 9-5 with 2 clubs is not going to do it. Checks around, turns the 8 of clubs. The big blind leads. The limper calls, I just fold. Big blind ends up showing down a queen for the win. Put in the raise to $25 after 3 limpers with queen 9 offsuit. One last time, all of their cards hit the muck. One last 6-way limper for old time's sake. I limp in with 10-3 of diamonds. Flop top pair on 10-8-4 with 2 hearts. Checks to me, I bet $15. The small blind makes the call. The turn's an offsuit 6. He checks. I'm going to keep betting for value. I think it's pretty likely he has some sort of draw here. So I bet $25. He asks the dealer to spread the pot, does the math in his head, and then he eventually makes the call. So I think we're looking at a draw here if I could guess, based on the math that was done here. The river's an 8 pairing the board. He checks, and I'm just going to check back here at this point because I think I beat all the draws, and he does in fact have a draw. It was Jack 9 of hearts that we faded a lot of outs on. And I'm now actually up $30 or $40 in the session. Only a few hands left to play. Can just book this win, but we got to try to win more, right? I raised the $10 with 9-3 suited. The player from the last hand also was the same player who said he'd fold the ace-king if I raised the 20. He puts in a 3-bet to $40. I think it's the first time I've been 3-bet the entire time. He's only got $100 behind. I snap fold. He shows pocket kings. He tells me he's worried about an ace coming. I tell him I never have an ace. He doesn't have to worry about that. Next hand, I accidentally raised the $6 instead of $10 with 3 deuces spades. I just grabbed the wrong chip. Get 2 callers. Flop comes ace, ace, 7, 2 hearts. Not going to put much money in here, so we just check around. The turn is the 5 of hearts. I see the player on my left do the heart check. Figure he doesn't have much, so I just go ahead and bet $15, figuring I only have to get through the big blind. That player folds behind me, and then the early position player makes the call. The river's a 9, and the early position player snap leads for $35. I just immediately muck. All right, hand number 92, the last one, the last chance to make money. I raise under the gun with queen 5 of clubs to $10. It folds around to the big blind. This is the guy that I've been getting the best of all day long, just betting every time. He just keeps folding and folding. He hasn't had enough pain yet, so he makes another call. Flop comes 8, 7, 6, 2 spades, 1 club. He checks. I bet $10 again. He makes a pretty quick call. The turn is an offsuit 3. He checks. I'm going to keep betting. There's plenty of pair plus straight draw type hands you could have that I can get called by again. I'm going to bet the river. It's just worked all night long. Finally, he springs to life with a check raise. He makes it $80. Now, we're $500 deep here. I don't like my hand at all, though, in this spot when he's just folded in so many spots. So I just go ahead and fold, and he shows me pocket kings. So he gets the last laugh. He wins the last pot of my session. After it's all said and done, I cash out for $953, in for $1,000 for a loss of $47, meaning I was up going into that last hand, $3. All in all, fun session. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I played 92 hands that were all posted in this video. I won 35 of the 92 hands. Keep in mind we're playing 10-handed. Unfortunately, I lost some of the bigger pots that we played, but I thought it was a fun thing to do. If you guys enjoyed this format with every hand being posted, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. And look forward to future videos like this. So unfortunately, $47 coming off the total for the Play Every Hand Challenge. We'll get back to it again next week, though. And if you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. And if you guys have any questions, comments, leave them in the comments box below. Or you can reach me, go to raisingthenuts.com or send an email to info@raisingthenuts.com. Hope you guys are all well, and see you next week.